And then he came to the last one. He said, you'll find that a slave woman will give birth to her mistress. How can a slave woman give birth to her mistress? Shall I leave you to think about it until tomorrow night? Huh? How can a slave woman give birth to her mistress? The only one who will be able to see that sign of Allah when it comes in the world, a major sign of the last age, the only one who will be able to see it and recognize it, is not the one who has the PhD from Al-Azhar University, but inside has nothing. It is the one who sees with two eyes, who has knowledge externally derived, and who has knowledge internally derived. This is the most learned of all men. And so when Musa asked, where can I meet him? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, go, and you will find him at the place where the two oceans meet. Majma'ul Bahrain. It is the commentator of the Quran, Baydawi. He is the only one who has penetrated the meaning of it. He said that the two oceans are the ocean of knowledge externally acquired and the ocean of knowledge internally acquired. When these two oceans of knowledge combine together in one man, combine together harmoniously, they're integrated together, you have the most learned of all men. Such a man was Maulana Muhammad Abdul Alim Siddiqui, rahimahullah, after whom this masjid was named. And such a man was his student and my teacher, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah. We are just little candles glowing from the light which came from these great scholars of Islam. It is when you use these two oceans to combine together that you can crack it. A slave woman giving birth to her mistress. I'm going to be brief because it's already 10 o'clock. In order to understand this, you need two things which come from Dajjal, through which Dajjal attacks to try to take control of mankind. One, the Prophet said that the age of Dajjal will be the age of Kathratul Riba. That riba will take control of the world in the age of Dajjal. What happens when riba takes control of an economy is that, number one, the rich will remain permanently rich and the poor will remain permanently poor. Wealth will no longer circulate. Number two, the rich will grow richer and the poor will grow poorer, and the number of poor will constantly increase until they reach to the depths of that destitution. In other words, a new slavery descends upon mankind, and that has already come while the ulama of Islam have been eating halwa. It has already come upon us. Nobody teaches the subject of the prohibition of riba. Nobody. I had the good fortune to live in New York, the capital city of riba. And there I was able to put book knowledge to bear upon the real economy in the world today. In addition, I was blessed to study Western economics, international monetary economics, for example, in Europe. And this was how Allah blessed me with some understanding of the subject. That's why you will find my book outside, The Prohibition of Riba in the Quran and Sunnah. It took me 4 years to write that book. When an economy is based on riba, then wealth will no longer circulate. It's like mankind traveling on a ship. 15% of the population of mankind traveling first class, with permanent first class tickets. Best drinking water, best food, servants to serve them, luxury. The other 85% down in the hole of the ship, living in squalor, living in misery, living in suffering, living in destitution, falling ill like flies and dying like flies. So they are slaves down there. That's Indonesia today. That woman, therefore, is a slave woman down in the hole of the ship. She's the one we're talking about. In the age of Dajjal, not only do we have riba, but something else. The last people to come out of Dajjal will be women, said the Prophet ﷺ. And Dajjal will weave such a web of brainwashing of women that a man would have to return to his home and tie down his wife and sister and daughter to protect and preserve them from Dajjal. They're brainwashed. Nothing you can say to them will change their minds. Brainwashed. This is the modern feminist movement. What does the modern feminist movement want to do? If nowhere else in the world you should be able to answer that very easily, Singapore. This country. The modern feminist movement challenges the notion that men and women are functionally different. That men have different basic functions from women. The modern feminist movement wants to remove the barriers. Anything a man does, a woman should have the freedom to do it. And so women embrace the functional role of men in the feminist revolution. But she is too poor to do it. The one down in the hole. The ones who do it are the elite. They're rich. These are the first to embrace the functional role of men. The women traveling first class. What happens when women go out to work the way men do? 7 o'clock in the morning, she's dressed to go to work, the way he is. And she comes back home in the evening, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, the same way that he does. And when she dresses to go to work, this is not going to a party, this is going to work. So she has to dress in working clothes, and working clothes must look masculine. So now the cut of the clothes, jacket, and trousers, and you wouldn't believe it, I also saw the tie. So her dress becomes masculine. And when she goes to work, and she gets in a position of some authority, she has people working under her. You can't be shy. You got to talk like a man now. You got to behave like a man now, so that you can command respect. But in the Quran, Allah describes women differently. Musa alayhi salam, remember how he drew the water for the girls? And then one of them came back, father sent her back, go call him. And she has to come and approach this man, a woman approaching a man. And Allah describes in the Quran how shy she was, how bashful she is, that she has to approach a man. But Uncle Sam's daughter ain't shy. Huh? That's for kampung. We are modern women. So they behave like men, they dress like men, they talk like men, and even the faces begin to look like the faces of men. I don't want to mention the name of anybody in Mr. Clinton's cabinet. The softness is gone. The shyness is gone. The bashfulness is gone. And so as women assume the functional role of men, they begin to lose their femininity. But Allah describes the male and the female in using the analogy of the night and the day. Listen to him. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. He takes an oath by the night and that which it shrouds and covers so mysteriously, so beautifully. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. And he takes an oath by the day and its bright, powerful light. وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنْثَى. That in the same way that Allah created the night and the day, so too did He create the male and the female. Allah wants the day to be day, and He wants the night to be night. When the day is day and the night is night, do you notice the attraction? How much they are attracted to each other? And when the day is coming to an end and the day is approaching the night, do you notice the anxiety, the enthusiasm, how the day paints the sky in so many colors? Are you blind? Don't you see it? And then when the day reaches the night, the day plunges into the arms of the night. A rush of a plunge into the arms of the night. It happens every sunset. And then the day spends the night with the night. And there's a time for rest, and there's a time for sleep, and there's a time for love, and there's a time for worship, and there's a time for meditation, and then the time comes to say goodbye. And the day must say goodbye to the night. But the night doesn't want the day to go. And so the night holds on to the day. And only one ray of light comes out. And then a second ray and a third ray of light. Slowly, slowly, slowly the light comes out in the morning. How different from sunset. And so when the day is day and the night is night, there will be intense attraction between the day and the night. It is because of that intense attraction there's a forbidden space between a man and a woman. The forbidden space is not just physical. The forbidden space is also psychological. It's also sociological. It should not be invaded. Because of this intense attraction that there is between the male and the female. But when the night wants to become day, Singapore, are you listening? When the night tries to become day, in fact, Singapore, the night has already become day. When the night tries to become day, the night will no longer be truly night. The day will no longer be attracted to the night. When the night is rivaling the day in the workplace, it's now an adversarial relationship, not attraction. And when the day is no longer attracted to the night, what will happen? It's not what will happen, what is already happening. The day will now mate with the day. Wherever the modern feminist revolution and its struggle for women's liberation has taken roots, the necessary corollary has always been homosexuality and lesbianism. But that is not our subject tonight. The slave woman is still down there. And we want to know, how will a slave woman give birth to her mistress? When the night tries to become day, not only does the night lose her femininity, but she loses something else that Singapore knows very well. she loses her fertility. She can't have babies. This country has one of the most alarming decline in fertility rates in the world. This island of Singapore. She can't have babies. But she's traveling first class, remember? So then how will babies come? Eventually, the answer is the slave woman down there. She is too poor to try to become day. So her womb is still fertile. And so her womb will now become a factory. And she will be paid for her services. For 9 months she lived like a queen. No genetically re-engineered food for her. No, real food. No milk with hormones and meat with hormones for her. No, that's for the rest. For her must be real meat and real. And so for 9 months she lives like a queen. Because baby, the first class baby inside there. And then when the baby is born, baby goes first class. Mama, still down in the hole. And so a slave woman has given birth to her mistress. And it has already started. While the scholars of Islam have been eating halwa, it has already started. We are living now in the last age. But the only ones who can read and understand and penetrate the last age, realize the reality of the world around them today, are those who see with 2 eyes, not one. Who, in addition to the effort that they make to acquire knowledge externally, that effort has to be made, they also are blessed with the capacity for internally derived knowledge. And these 2 oceans of knowledge come together, then they could understand and penetrate the reality of the world in which we live today.